Albert Camus was a French-Algerian novelist, playwright, journalist, essayist, philosopher, and revolutionary who lived in the 20th century. He wrote mainly novels, the most notable being The Stranger, The Plague, The Myth of Sisyphus, The Fall, and The Rebel. Due to the high quality of his work, he received the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1957. Camus is one of the most representative figures of the philosophy of the absurd, or Absurdism, a philosophical school of thought which means that human beings exist in a purposeless, chaotic universe. We humans have a drive to find meaning in things, and where it doesn't exist, we usually try to create it. However, the universe we live in is cold and indifferent to this quest for meaning, and we will always be faced with absurd situations where our attempts to find meaning will fail. Hence, our lives are meaningless, and will remain so. Absurdism is different from nihilism. Although both absurdism and nihilism consider life as meaningless, absurdism gives you the motivation to rejoice in this fact and find your own meaning and purpose in an otherwise meaningless and purposeless world. Camus proposes 3 ways to approach absurdism: suicide, faith, and acceptance. Both suicide and faith can be considered as escapes. Suicide a physical escape from life, and faith as a mental escape from life. As when you have faith in something, you don't need to invest mental energy in reasoning why things are how they are. Suicide and faith fail to solve the conflict between the human desire for meaning and the lack of meaning which exists in this world. Thus, the only thing which remains is acceptance. Acceptance leads to individual freedom. You become free from the moral judgments of life. You can create new meanings. Even though life is meaningless, according to Camus, it is worth living and should be embraced as it is. We're still living in the here and now, and have every ability to enjoy ourselves, and to do so, we need to live in the present moment and make the most of it. By knowing how to enjoy the present moment, you can more easily reach the state of acceptance, and you'll know how to face the absurd. Which is why, to help with that, we bring you 7 ways you can make the most of your present, from the philosophy of Albert Camus. Number 1. Have a motivation for living. Camus asks, should I kill myself or have a cup of coffee? Camus is the philosopher who pondered the most on the idea of suicide, and in his essay, The Myth of Sisyphus, he stated that there is but one truly serious philosophical problem, and that is suicide. When we wake up from slumber and we scroll down our phones and see only negative news, and we remember all the bad past events that happened in our lives, we all can reach at some point the thought that life might not be worth living. To stand up and go to your espresso machine to make your morning coffee is in itself a statement that you're willing to push it more, that your life might be worth living, and you're willing to try to succeed again in your endeavours. We cannot live our lives if we don't take it step by step, savouring every present moment, having patience. To accomplish our goals and dreams takes time, and we should take it slowly, without falling into despair. One of the most important secret keys to allow yourself to enjoy the present moment is to learn to take it slowly. This will prevent you from getting into despair and thinking about suicide. No matter how bad things look in your personal life, in the world, there's always a small ray of hope you can cling on to. Even if you think it's too late for you, that you're not able to accomplish your dreams anymore, that all the doors have closed for you. For example, your dream was to be a professional football player, and you're now in a wheelchair. You can find motivation to live if you think of others, if you're able to make others' lives a bit happier. Perhaps you have some money you can invest in a charitable foundation. You could volunteer to help others in some way. No matter how small your help is, you can make the world a better place, and this should be a good reason to continue living and enjoying the present moment. Number 2. Be yourself at all times. Camus says, "Man is the only creature who refuses to be what he is." We have the tendency to believe others when they tell us who we are, and we mould our personality according to their opinion. Camus draws to our attention that in order to live in the present moment, we need to give up the urge to fit in, the urge to accommodate ourselves according to the wishes of others, that we need to rebel against the norms which are imposed on us. We need to take ownership of our individuality, of our human instincts, and fight the absurdity of things in order to really live in the present moment. Nowadays, this issue has become even more critical. Today's social media makes us lose our natural instincts, makes us live for receiving a few likes now and then, makes us post on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok only what we think is liked by others and not what really represents us. What we really need to come back to ourselves is a bit more self-awareness, more mindfulness, more time spent on watching the clouds go by in the sky than staring at our screens. To be who we really are, we need to spend less time on thinking how others want us to be, on what they expect us to be. We need to understand that we're not defined by what we do at our work, by the work accomplishments we have, or by how we look. These are all intertwined with society, with its absurdity, and according to Camus, we need to fight this absurdity by rebelling against it. We can rebel against it by doing the opposite of what anyone does, by doing things that reflect more who we are, at least from time to time. For example, if your company organises a small party after work before Christmas, and this party isn't mandatory, and you hate parties, don't go just to conform with what everyone else is doing. Rather, go straight home after work and spend quality time with your family. Allow yourself to do the things you really enjoy, break the norms, and copy others less. Number 3. Live intensively. Camus tells us to live to the point of tears. According to Camus, the tragic condition of human beings is caused by the conflict between their desire for meaning and the silence of the world's refusal to provide us with any meaning. This conflict gives birth to the absurd, our human condition. However, for Camus, life is worth living, even when it has no meaning. Even more, the absurd is the beginning of life, not a dead end as it was for Sartre and other existentialists. This conflict keeps our soul young and rebellious, keeps us truly living in the present moment. Precisely in that conflict, we can create a meaning for ourselves, and we can overcome despair and suicidal tendencies. The more meaning we create for our lives, the more intensively we can rebel against the world, and the more intensively we can live our lives to the point of tears. Camus believed that the greatness of man is how he fights against something which is greater than himself. In order to live your life intensively, you need to find great goals to follow, fights worth being fought. Don't set pedestrian goals for yourself, but rather aim for something bigger, something that makes your heart tremble with ecstasy. For example, don't just have a goal like, I want to be a good medical doctor, but rather aim to be the best doctor in your area, or even in the entire country. Only the thought of you becoming the best doctor would make you thrilled, fully motivated to give your best to your present moment, would make you take higher responsibilities at your workplace, accept more patients, save more lives, living your life at a frantic pace. Although in the great scheme of things we all die and life has no real meaning, staying on the front line and continuing to fight to save lives and live the fight intensively will make you live the present moment to the fullest. Number 4. Live like a rebel. According to Camus, the only way to deal with an unfree world is to become so absolutely free that your very existence is an act of rebellion. Even if Camus could not join the army during World War II, he was a part of the French resistance, being the editor-in-chief of an outlawed newspaper. He fought against injustice, putting his life in danger. Also, although born from French parents in Algeria, he criticised the unjust ways in which French people treated the Algerians. Wherever he saw injustice, he rebelled against it. According to Camus, if we are unfree, then we must rebel, fight to gain our freedom, putting all our efforts into that pursuit. Also, free people must be in a permanent state of revolution. If they're not, if they're losing sight of that rebel state, they'll start building up walls and prisons around them. The rights we have nowadays as people living in free democracies were not automatically given. They were fought for by our ancestors. We should never take for granted the freedom that we have, and we need to protect it at all costs. There is no true living without freedom. We cannot really enjoy the present moment if we're not allowed to express ourselves freely, if we are physically or psychologically imprisoned. According to Camus, there is nothing more despicable than respect based on fear. Think of all the situations when you had to respect someone because you feared the consequences of not respecting them. In this case, you denigrated your values, the things you stand for, in order to avoid unpleasant situations. For example, when your boss told you to follow a procedure which was not ethical, and you did so without argument. If you were truly following your own ethics, if you were present with your entire being at that moment, you would have said something. You would have told your boss the truth, that you find the procedure unethical and you don't wish to be part of such a project. A company should not invoke a master-slave relationship, but it should rather be a partnership between employers and employees. In whatever you do, take yourself with you, your values, your morality, and pay attention to what's happening around you. Live in the present moment and react, rebel against anything which violates your moral laws. Number 5. Focus on practical things. To quote Camus, "I only had a little time left, and I didn't want to waste it on God." The quote belongs to Meursault, the main character in the novel The Stranger by Albert Camus. Although a character with dubious morality, Meursault has the quality of being extremely honest, expressing his indifference to things like the death of his mother, or if Marie, his girlfriend, loves him. He bluntly stated that he doesn't want to waste his limited time on God. He rejects the moral standards of a society which, for example, dictates that one should grieve over the death of one's parents. He went so far that he even committed a crime, stating that he did it because the sun was too bright and too hot. Meursault is neither moral nor immoral, but amoral, showing indifference to any moral code of society. When he is sentenced to death, he starts to ponder that the universe is as indifferent to human life as he was. At that moment, he makes peace with himself and with the world. Through acceptance of this indifference, he became able to face the absurd. Thus, faith, the belief in God, was useless for Meursault to face the absurd. It was only through acceptance that he succeeded. Through faith, the human being embraces irrationality and arrives at a concept regarding life's meaning, which defies rationality. Camus considers faith a type of suicide, namely a philosophical suicide, because faith defies rationality, irrationality being the opposite of a philosophical argument. To face the absurd means to be immersed deeply in life, to face its sorrows and moral problems without implying religious beliefs. As we have limited time on Earth, we should spend it living each day to the fullest, and we shouldn't spend it thinking of the afterlife or imaginary worlds. Camus did not believe in an afterlife, but he admitted that you can be a Christian and absurd at the same time, no matter if we believe in God or not. We should be anchored in reality, courageous enough to face the good, the bad, and the ugly of this life, taking each moment as it is, dealing with it in a practical manner, without involving religion, the supernatural, or superstitious beliefs. For example, if a close one is suffering from a severe disease, don't just spend your time praying for them to recover, but rather call all the best medical doctors you can find and try to find the best remedy to save your dear one. Focus on finding practical solutions in each present moment. Deal with life as it is. Number 6. Accept the unpredictability of life. In the words of Camus, you can't create experience, you undergo it. Camus believed that there is no substitute for living an experience. You can read all the books in the world, but the knowledge you would get from them would be small compared to the knowledge you can get from a real-life experience. Camus had a difficult life. He was born in a poor neighbourhood in Algeria. He was part of the French resistance fighting Nazis in World War II, working for an outlawed newspaper, and after the war, he fought for European integration. Besides that, he had a tumultuous love life, and he died in a tragic car accident. No matter who we are, life has a way to sometimes undermine all of our plans. We have no idea when a tragedy can come into our life. We might get hit by a truck, lose our life in a car accident like Camus, or find one day we have cancer, or lose all of our possessions due to a natural disaster. It's vain hubris to believe we can be in full control of what's happening to us. That's why it's important to let loose, to learn to relax, to be comfortable with the uncomfortable events which might happen to us. You aren't the one who creates those experiences, you just undergo them. You need to learn how to deal with your attachments, and learn to have fewer expectations. Learn to be more flexible. You can make a list with the things that you can control and the things that you cannot. For example, you might find out that you can control how many hours you can invest in preparing for an exam, or how many hours you can allocate at work for learning a particular piece of software. But you cannot control the problems that you will face, how many sections you'll have difficulties understanding, your overall performance after learning, or how your professor or boss will perceive your efforts and how they will reward them. Invest all your thoughts and efforts in learning or doing the work, and not at all in worrying about what the outcome will be. Maybe the school assignment will be too difficult for you, or you'll discover that the software is more of a struggle to learn than you have the capacity for, or that your professor or boss will give you bad feedback because they were in a bad mood at the time. That shouldn't worry you. What you need to focus on is what you can control. You cannot have control over everything that happens to you, but you need to put all of your efforts into what you can do. Number 7. Find happiness in every phase of your life. In our final quote from Camus for this video, he says, "Autumn is a second spring when every leaf is a flower. This quote is said by the character Jeanne in Camus' play The Misunderstanding, written in 1943 in the style of Greek tragedies, and focused on the concept of the absurd. One of the main ideas of the play is that life doesn't distinguish between those who pursue a bad path and those who pursue a good path. Life is equally cruel to the innocent and to the criminal. No matter how moral we are, how worthy we are, life will carry us all towards destruction, towards death. Nowadays, social media, the movies we watch, the songs that we listen to, they all seem to glorify youth, beauty, and vitality, qualities which seem to coincide with the spring and summer seasons of our lives. Usually, we are beautiful and have a lot of vitality when we're living the first half of our lives. As we grow older, we get more knowledgeable, and many of us become more successful. We earn more money, but we also get more wrinkles and our bodies get weaker. Even at this stage of our lives, we still need to enjoy our lives, to savour each present moment, all the colourful leaves in our lives. The older we get, the more we can get in touch with our inner beauty and wisdom, and we should share them with the new generation. We can discover new ways of self-expression, a new identity, new forms of enjoying life. Instead of focusing on the wrinkles around our eyes, we should focus on the wisdom which came with them, on the lessons we learned in life, and we should work hard in making use of them to make the world a better place. If you're now in your late 40s, in your 50s or 60s, it's safe to consider that you're probably in the autumn season of your life. At this point, you should probably have a direction in your life. You should have a base on which you can rely on, be it a career or business. You're a knowledgeable person with already many years of experience, and you're able to pass this knowledge and experience on to the new generation. Some people at this age start to feel depressed that the most vital part of their life has already passed, that they no longer conform to beauty standards the way they once did, that they cannot run marathons as when they were young. However, there are still many things to enjoy in life. Great moments with their partners, with their children, grandchildren or nephews and nieces, the feeling of pride to be in charge of critical projects at work, the quiet evenings where they can stroll around a lake or enjoy a long and deserving holiday at a resort. Every age comes with its benefits. We just have to know which they are and make the best out of them. Look at the full half of the glass, not the empty part. Living your life to the fullest involves knowing how to savour each season of your life in its own unique way.